The Arctic hides a secret. Beneath its endless white, beyond the frozen winds that can freeze skin in seconds, lies a wilderness more otherworldly than anywhere on Earth. For centuries, the world believed this frozen frontier was empty, unlivable, unreachable. They were wrong. Across the ice live some of the toughest humans on Earth: Inuit, Nenets, Sami, Yupik, masters of survival. But hidden in the silence of this frozen wilderness, there are whispers of another tribe. A people so strange, so out of place, that explorers swore they weren't human at all. A mystery buried in snow, ignored by history, and feared by those who claim to have seen it. And tonight, their story is finally coming to light. We know the peoples of the Arctic by their brilliance at adaptation. The Inuit building igloos that trap warmth inside walls of ice. The Nenets roaming Siberia with reindeer, their chum tents strong enough to withstand -50 degrees. The Sami migrating with herds across Scandinavia, following ancient routes like moving rivers of life. The Yupik carving kayaks sharp as blades to slice through seas packed with ice. Every tribe, a masterpiece of survival. Every culture, a living blueprint of resilience. But one group doesn't fit the pattern. No villages, no ruins, no language anyone can place. Just shadows, legends, and encounters no one can explain. And if you're ready to ride with this mystery, this story of the Arctic's lost tribe, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and stay with us till the very end. The first written traces of the Arctic's hidden tribe did not come from scientists or governments, but from the men who pushed wooden ships into seas of black ice and endless night. Whalers, traders, and explorers, hardened by hunger, storms, and months without sunlight, began to leave behind fragments of testimony that still chill the blood. These men were not dreamers, they were survivors. And yet, what they wrote makes the line between myth and reality vanish. In logbooks dating back centuries, there are reports of strange silhouettes moving across the floes. Not the rolling shapes of seals, not the loping gait of polar bears. These were human-like figures, tall and upright, gliding with uncanny speed across the snow where no settlement, no firelight, no sign of life should exist. Sailors described the figures as cloaked in something that shimmered, not fur, not wool, but a sheen that caught the moonlight as though woven from the ice itself. One journal from the late 1700s records, "They moved without sound. Their garments glowed faint, like frost under a new sun. I swear the cold bent around them. The crew whispered of spirits, but the sightings repeated across ships and seasons, noted again and again by men who had never met each other, yet described the same impossible details. And then came the silence, more unnerving than the sight itself. Several journals mentioned attempts to call out across the ice. No words came back. Instead, the men felt something stranger, harder to explain, as if meaning itself pressed into their skulls, without sound, without language. A few dismissed it as imagination. Others wrote plainly, they answered without speaking. The encounters were fleeting, but the aftermath lingered. Again and again, crews reported sudden waves of weakness spreading through their ranks. Strong men collapsing in their bunks. Headaches, fevers, disorientation, symptoms that appeared within hours of a sighting, then lifted just as suddenly when the ship turned south. Ship doctors blamed the cold or poor rations, but some captains privately admitted that the sickness arrived only after the strangers were seen. One whaler's account from the early 1800s described half his crew struck down after witnessing figures at the edge of a whiteout storm. They glided nearer, then vanished as the gale rose. By nightfall, 7 men could not rise from their beds. The illness cleared within days, but not before leaving behind a sense that they had brushed against something more than human. Decades later, scientists returned to the same waters. Different people, same stories. Strange lights on the horizon, unexplained illness, voices on the wind, and always, figures watching from the ice, vanishing the moment you tried to get close. Yet not all traces of them disappeared. In the 1930s, deep in the Soviet Arctic, a geological survey team drilling through permafrost struck something no one expected: bones. Not animal, but unmistakably human. Yet the skulls weren't like any humans they knew. The craniums were elongated, stretched almost unnaturally, with sharp ridges at the jawline. And the teeth, sharpened, triangular, as if filed into weapons. Alongside them lay tools unlike anything used by the Inuit or Nenets, chisels, blades, ornaments, each one forged from pure meteoric iron. They were polished smooth, not hammered crudely like ancient iron usually is, but refined, balanced, almost engineered. The dig was sealed within weeks. Officially, the team had found nothing of significance, yet whispers spread. One of the archaeologists smuggled photographs back to Leningrad before disappearing in a train accident that never made the papers. The images, passed hand to hand, revealed burial chambers refrozen in permafrost, skeletons twisted in ritual poses, and strange sigils etched into the stone. After that, nothing. The Soviet state declared the site classified. Today it remains unmarked on any map, locked in silence. And still, the legends refuse to vanish. Inuit elders tell stories of the Tunit, giants who lived in the land before them. Some describe the Tunit as protectors, beings who could walk for days across the tundra carrying a whale on their backs. Others tell darker stories. Cannibals, hunters of men, a people with voices so powerful they could control a storm or silence an animal before the spear struck. When asked where they went, the elders always answer the same way. They left all at once. They left nothing behind but footprints in the snow. Yet those same footprints are still whispered about today. Hunters speak of massive impressions in the ice, larger than any polar bear. Tracks that lead nowhere, fading as if swallowed by the wind. And then there are the caves, stories of hollow mountains, filled not with treasure, but with bones stacked high against the walls, bones the size of trees. In 1962, a Norwegian explorer stumbled into one of those caves near Baffin Island. His notes, later found in a weathered journal, describe walls covered in carvings, not random scratches, maps, star charts, astronomical alignments etched into stone that should have been buried long before the first telescopes were ever invented. And here's the mystery. The constellations didn't match the night sky we see today. Entire star systems were shifted, as if charted thousands, maybe tens of thousands of years ago when the heavens were arranged differently. One carving showed a series of dots and lines forming a spiral, ending in a symbol of fire striking Earth. Was it a record of a comet? A memory of some cataclysm passed down through generations, or something else entirely? Even stranger, when modern astronomers compared the patterns, they discovered several matched ancient star positions from the end of the Ice Age, an epoch before recorded history when glaciers covered half the world. But how could an isolated tribe in the Arctic, with no written language, no telescopes and no permanent settlements, record the movement of the stars? Where did that knowledge come from? And if they knew the sky, did they also know something else? Something about the cycles of destruction that shape the Earth? Those questions never went away. Decades later, the search for answers shifted from caves to satellites. In the early 2000s, polar surveys began detecting heat signatures beneath the ice, not random geothermal vents, not volcanic activity, shapes, rectangular outlines, long corridors stretching in grids, patterns that looked less like geology and more like settlements. Researchers planned expeditions, but strange things kept happening. GPS units would fail the moment aircraft crossed into the zones. Compasses spun wildly as if North itself had disappeared. Batteries drained to nothing in minutes. Entire recording systems glitched into static. On one mission, a drone lost all signal for 17 minutes, only to reconnect with a single corrupted frame. A tall silhouette, distorted against the snow, standing unnaturally still. Its proportions not quite human. And the deeper the signals went, the stranger they became. Seismic readings hinted at hollow chambers, hundreds of meters wide, sealed beneath ancient ice, as if something had been built, buried and forgotten. Official reports dismissed them as artifacts of data processing, but the raw files tell a different story. Heat, symmetry, shadows of architecture where none should exist. Then came the breakthrough no one could ignore. In 2018, fragments of bone unearthed near Greenland were quietly sent for genetic sequencing. At first, scientists assumed they would belong to the Inuit or perhaps older Paleo-Eskimo groups, but the results stunned them. The DNA didn't align with Inuit, Nenets, Sami, or any Arctic population. It didn't match Neanderthals. It didn't match Denisovans. It didn't match any known human lineage on record. The data pointed to something else entirely, an unknown branch of hominin, a population that lived alongside us yet apart, their genetic code hinting at traits we don't fully understand. Some markers suggested heightened oxygen efficiency, the kind of adaptation you'd expect in creatures built to thrive in freezing, low-resource environments. Others pointed to anomalies in bone density, muscle regeneration, even sensory acuity. Scientists working on the project grew uneasy. If this wasn't human as we know it, then what was it? The study was never officially published. Instead, fragments were leaked, stripped of context, by whistleblowers who claimed entire sections of data had been classified. The implication was simple and terrifying. An entire species, unrecorded, unrecognized, may still linger in the ice. But DNA wasn't the only thing left behind. For over a century, explorers have spoken of strange sounds carried across the Arctic wind. Not the howling of storms, not the creak of shifting ice, but patterns, rhythms, chants. Recordings exist, though almost all are laced with static, as if the air itself resists being captured. Yet through the distortion, you can hear the cadence, repeating syllables, low vibrations, rising and falling in a way that feels deliberate. Inuit shamans say these are the voices of the ice, a language not spoken but summoned. When linguists analyzed what could be salvaged from these recordings, the results raised even more questions. The structures didn't match Inuit dialects, nor Sami, nor any Arctic tongue. Instead, faint echoes appeared, links to proto-languages thought extinct for over 10,000 years, roots older than Sumerian, older than Egyptian. It was as if the words carried the DNA of the world's first languages, preserved in a frozen chant that refuses to die. But there was something else, something no one can explain. A handful of listeners reported physical effects after playing the chants: headaches, nausea, visions. Some described sudden drops in temperature in rooms where the recordings played. Others swore they heard additional voices layered beneath the human range, tones too low to be natural. Frequencies no ear should detect, vibrating not in the air, but in the body itself. And as if the land itself were responding, strange phenomena began to cluster around the same regions. Pilots spoke of clear skies 1 minute, walls of black ice cloud the next. Instruments flickered, radios died, and when the storm broke, auroras shimmered brighter than anywhere else on Earth, as if charged by something beneath the ice. Compasses twisted wildly, pointing not north, but toward unseen forces. Locals whispered that these were no accidents of weather, but signs of guardians at work, keepers of the sky's power, bending the elements to shield themselves from the outside world. But if that is true, it raises a darker question. How do they survive when no villages, no farms, no permanent camps have ever been found? Archaeologists have mapped thousands of Inuit, Nenets, and Sami settlements across centuries. But for this group, there is nothing. No abandoned huts, no broken sleds, no storage pits, not even fire-blackened stones. And yet, eyewitnesses consistently describe them as healthy, strong, well-fed. Hunters tell of encountering them deep in blizzards, their eyes glowing with uncanny brightness, their bodies wrapped in furs stitched with patterns no outsider recognizes. In these accounts, there is no sign of exhaustion, no hunger in their faces. They thrive where others struggle to last a week. One theory suggests a hidden network of underground dwellings carved into permafrost, invisible to satellites. Geologists dismiss the idea, saying tunnels would collapse under shifting ice, yet hunters describe stumbling on half-buried entrances, stone arches sealed with frozen blocks, radiating warmth as if from fires within. Reports vanish as quickly as they appear, But the pattern is impossible to ignore. How can a people leave no visible footprint on the surface, yet endure century after century in the deadliest climate on Earth? Even stranger are stories of resources unknown to science. In the 1960s, Soviet surveyors claimed to see tribe members hauling enormous fish from cracks in the ice, creatures with translucent flesh that melted away within hours of exposure to air. Western expeditions in the 80s told of hunters carrying carved bowls that never emptied, steaming with broth despite days of pursuit. A Canadian soldier stationed near Baffin Island in 1999 wrote in his journal that he tracked figures through snowstorms for 3 nights, yet never saw them eat, drink, or rest. They moved, he wrote, like shadows fed by something we cannot measure. His report was classified and his unit reassigned. The unsettling implication is that their survival does not rely on the Arctic's known cycles of seal hunting, whale fat, or reindeer herding. Either they have mastered methods of sustaining life that we have lost, or they are drawing on resources not of this earth. Anthropologists point to their uncanny health. No evidence of scurvy, frostbite, or malnutrition in the skeletal remains rumored to exist. Medical anomalies suggest an adaptation so advanced it borders on impossible. The ability to metabolize minerals in ice, to breathe in ways unfamiliar to modern physiology, even to resist radiation from magnetic storms. For scientists, these claims strain belief. But for local shamans, the explanation is simple. They are not bound by the same rules as ordinary humans. They are hybrids, watchers, maybe even remnants of a people who walked here before the ice itself. And yet, for all the stories, for all the evidence buried in whispers and fragments, the ultimate truth remains beyond reach. Every decade, a new report surfaces, then vanishes. Government files leak, only to be retracted. Journalists investigate, but their work never sees daylight. Even in the digital age, where nothing stays hidden, photographs are blurred, recordings corrupted, and testimonies withdrawn under pressure no one can trace. The silence is too consistent to be coincidence. Scientists remain divided. Some dismiss the entire story as myth, a tangled web of Inuit legend, misidentified wanderers, and Arctic hallucinations born of exhaustion. Others argue the consistency of the accounts is too precise, too aligned across centuries, to be dismissed as imagination. In hushed academic circles, a phrase circulates, the 5th people of the Arctic, a lineage neither Inuit, Sami, Nenets, nor Yupik, something other, something older. What haunts researchers most are the genetic traces. That 2018 DNA study, the one never officially published, whispers of fragments belonging to no known branch of humanity. Not Neanderthal, not Denisovan, not Homo sapiens. Something else. If true, it would mean we are not the only human-like species to survive into the modern age. That one tribe carried forward a secret lineage, hidden in ice, shielded by storms, watching us as closely as we seek to uncover them. And then there are the voices. Those who travel too deep into forbidden tundra speak of chants carried on the wind. Patterns no linguist can decode, rising from cracks in glaciers as though the earth itself is speaking. Some call it hallucination, the brain's desperate attempt to impose meaning on the howling void. Others say it is language, older than time, echoing across frozen plains as a warning or a call. The unanswered mystery lingers. Are they a forgotten people, an undiscovered species, or something neither human nor myth? Evidence piles up, but conclusions slip like snow through grasping fingers. Each revelation leads only to another shadow, another silence, another vanishing trace. And still, sightings continue. A hunter in Greenland describes being followed for 3 nights by a figure too tall, too swift, always just out of reach. A satellite image from 2021 shows an oval depression the size of a stadium, carved into ice where no human settlement exists. And in 2023, a leaked video frame, just one, shows a figure taller than any man, its outline blurred, standing where no one should survive. No matter how far technology advances, the mystery refuses to be resolved. It waits in the white silence, in storms that rise without warning, in lights that bend across the sky. Every path leads back to the same haunting question. If they are real, they have been here all along. And if they are not, then who is it that keeps watching from the edge of the storm?